In a world with only hot takes,
Two college friends try to cool down sports media.
join Jack and Jared every week as they tackle the biggest stories on the NFL.
And give the reasonable football analysis you won't hear anywhere else.
Welcome to
710 Sports. Welcome back to 710 Sports with
Jack
and Jared. It's episode 16. Thanks for joining us after week 8 of the NFL season. That was our intro. Music done by James. Obviously, words
not sponsored,
and,
but shout out.
Not sponsored, but So we're doing actually 2 episodes this week. I know we've been going back to our one schedule week, but we 1 episode a week. We're gonna do 2 because we've got some big stuff for you this week. Today was indeed the trade deadline in the NFL, and so we've got lots of news coming out. Literally
news.
by the last minute, I believe, 4 o'clock. So we're gonna have to get into that as well as some results from last week. We got a couple of segments we want to talk about some unlikely leaders in the NFL right now, division leaders, and some basically sophomore year woes from the quarterback draft class of 2021. And so we're going to have to get into all that. And of course, Eagles watch. So we're going to do that.
Watch.
And then our next episode 17, will be Jack P's pin setters, released a little bit later this week.
I think with a nice graphic, you, the audience, get to see the nice graphic interface we've been using. I believe Jared here has spruced something up.
Yeah, we're premiering for the video podcast. If you're not subscribed on YouTube, go to 710 Sports on YouTube.
Honestly, much prefer that personally. But yes.
Yeah, it's if you like the video stuff, if you don't listen to the podcast while doing something like driving or whatever, and you want to watch us, that's definitely an option now. And this time for the pin setter, it is, like Jack said, preferred because you're going to get some killer graphics on our side. Hopefully, if all goes well technically, which it will. Cross our fingers. So we're going to just jump right into it because we want to be aware of time here. So we got our trades at the deadline here. First one, I think maybe the biggest one I'd say would be TJ Hawkinson was traded from the Lions to the Vikings for 2/4. It was
Hawkinson
traded, was
I know
sent.
it's complicated.
Yeah, Hawkinson was sent with 2/4 to the Vikings, and the Vikings gave up a second and a third. Now those fourths can become
one of them can become a fifth, I believe. If the Vikings either make or win a playoff game, I think the 2024 fifth becomes a 2020 the 2024 fourth becomes a 2024 fifth. So it's
a conditional fourth. But if they make the playoffs, which they probably will, that will be a fifth. Weird trade. Complicated, I guess I should say.
It's Hawkinson's a player who the Lions drafted early. He was a first-round pick tight end relatively early. It was when they were trying to give Stafford more weapons, and I think Stafford they targeted him a fair amount. But I believe Jared Goff has the chemistry there as it worked, or Hawkinson just hasn't lived up to the pick. But either way, relatively good tight end, pretty good tight end, added to the Vikings, who are looking to contend, are 6-1. And the Vikings don't give up a whole lot, right? They don't give up anything in terms of volume of picks, quality of picks. Potentially, they give up a fair amount, but this is really interesting for me because of that kind of Vikings are we want to make a push, Also interesting for the Lions that the Lions are fully in sell the house mode. I think Hawkinson might be on the last year of a deal or something. That could be part of it, but the Lions are so down bad. They're trading to a divisional rival. Also, rest in peace the Packers.
They're so down bad that they're sending it to the Vikings. Packers have not made a move. Vikings decide, you know what? We don't want to just win a division. We want to make a run.
We want to contend. Yeah. Maybe they're thinking a team takes. Maybe they're thinking the Eagles. What if they keep up their record and then the Eagles, toss a freebie to the team like the Texans. Unlikely, but yeah. But I mean, this is definitely looking like they're going for the deep run, right? Which is interesting.
In other news, Miami trades a first-round pick that they acquired from San Francisco to the Broncos for Bradley Chubb. Bradley Chubb was on the chopping block all last week, and they said that he was not going to be traded unless they lost to the Jags in London. This was false. He was dealt
because
anyway.
They won. Yeah. I think there's some other like pick like calculus here. Like it's the sort of thing. I think there might be the Broncos give them a fourth, and then the Dolphins give him back a fifth. Like I think there might be. I think there's other stuff. I don't think it's just him straight up for it. I know that's what I wrote. I don't think it's just him for a straight up first, but I couldn't find it off the top of my head. But yeah, I mean, this I think is big. I mean, again, big for both teams. I was looking at. I sent you it just yesterday. the NFL Tankathon rankings for teams with draft capital, and this was huge for the Broncos because the Broncos had like nothing. The Broncos were doing poorly and were like 31st or something in draft capital, which is not good, obviously. So this picking up another first, and I think potentially other like later round picks, picking up a first, I think is very big for them where they are, because it looks like it's going to need time to make Russ cook. Yeah, like to make Russ click with the team, it's going to take some time, if at all. And Bradley Chubb, I think they want to move off, and I think a first round pick's a pretty good haul for him. At least a lot of the way I saw people talking about him, like, yeah, he's pretty good, but it's not like he's no TJ Watt. I couldn't Myles Garrett. I couldn't think of an edge rusher off the top of my head, but like
he's maybe not like a top 10 edge rusher in the league.
Yeah, but he's pretty good. Again, looks like Dolphins doing a Vikings-esque move here, right? They're like, okay, we want to win, because this is the Dolphins don't have another first-round pick because they lost their first-round pick because of the tampering scandal, something with Brady. So they're going. This means they're all in on Tua, right? No more picks to potentially try to do whatever quarterback shenanigans, and it means that they're just going in on the season, right? They think, okay, we have a chance. We're one edge rusher away, sort of thing,
Right.
It is interesting.
They're buyers. And I think it's more interesting to me that at this point, the Broncos are already sellers, because this is. I
mean, they had to be. Did
they though? Because what are they? Yeah. They're going to get a first round pick. They're going to get San Francisco's first round pick, so it might be a middle to low pick in the draft for the first round. So later pick in the first round, because San Francisco is probably going to be average to good. And they're not. Do you think that they're going to get Bradley Chubb for that? I don't understand it, probably. Because if Russell Wilson's the guy, why would you trade away a good piece on defense, even if it's unless they didn't want to keep him for some other reason? It's just crazy that they like you said, they have no draft capital, because they've been selling the house for magic beans, and now they're not growing. You know what I mean? So that's interesting to me. But and then we got the Bears. They go ahead and
Bears
say,
you know what? Trades. They buy and sell. Sorry.
Yeah, Bears just love the market. They want to get in. They want to buy. They want to sell. So first thing they do is they sell, right? This was the Roquan Smith trade came first, right? I believe.
Yes, it did. It did. Yeah.
So the Roquan Smith, they supposedly they weren't going to deal him. He's been on the block. He was crying about his teammate getting traded. That's how shocked he was about it. But he ends up getting traded to the Ravens for a second and a fifth round pick. This is a pick that I would have loved for Dallas to grab for a second and a fifth. I mean, they don't really need help on defense. They need a receiver, but I don't think that's a lot for Roquan Smith. So I think it's an excellent move for the Ravens. I don't know what the Bears are doing either, because they're trying to stockpile picks for a second round pick for what? For a receiver? I don't know.
For a second rebuild. I think what I have to think is that Roquan Smith wants a lot of money, right? Right, which is something we know, but I guess we have to assume it's an unreasonable, because the Bears, the Bears have an incredible amount of cap space next year, right? It's not like the Bears are hurting for cap space. They have a GDP of like a medium-sized country, you know, like in cap space. Like it's getting serious how much cap space they have. So like they could have afforded to do something, potentially even front load a contract. I'm not sure what the free agent market's going to look like, but so I think that for some reason they just didn't want him. I think Cowboys, I think it's good don't grab him because, I mean, I guess part of my thing, I know Micah Parsons has been being used in a lot more of a pass rush role, but like they already have a superstar linebacker. I could see, you know, how many, if they make Parsons more of an edge rusher than having him as more of like a field.
Are you
like
talking about neck brace Van Der Esch? Is that who you're talking about? Are you talking about Alaskan football Van Der Esch? He is pretty good. I agree. It's not a spot where they need help.
It's more like, like it's more like Van Der Esch is okay. Like you have Micah Parsons, right, which who can do pass coverage pretty well, even if he's doing a lot of edge rushing. But Van Der Esch is okay. At that point, you start running 3 linebacker splits. I mean, you trade Van Der Esch as part of the trade, not cost so much. I don't know, but I think that the Ravens may have needed it more, and their defense, I think, probably needed this more than the Cowboys defense. Cowboys should have tried to get a wide receiver.
Well, then there we go. We'll lead right into that. Cowboys should have went and got Claypool because
Packers should have went and get Claypool.
Then the Bears say, you know what, we're doubling. We're going to double down on offense.
Double down.
And we just got some picks back. Now we're going to send us our own second.
It's their second, which is likely to be worse than the Ravens' second.
No, it's going to be it's
better.
The draft pick is better.
Worse for the Bears. That's what I mean. Yeah, you're right. That's what I mean. Better draft.
So they send the better draft pick out to the Steelers for Claypool, a second round pick, and that I feel like is a pretty good steal. Now Dallas might also be saying Claypool a little bit more of like a slot receiver, a little bit smaller, and we have that already. CD Lamb, so we're not going to want to pay both of them at the same time.
Big boy.
So, but either way, Bears out here just doing Bears things. I'm going to be honest. I'm confused by it.
Yeah. I don't want to think about the Bears. I mean, I think it's funny. Last note on this is on trades and stuff. It's just, I mean, notably Packers not involved in any of these trades. Sign Rodgers to the massive contract, lots of guaranteed money and everything. Now, you know, don't like I don't know. Just so like I think it was big because he needs people. Like Rodgers needs people to pass to, right? I mean, at this point, he's got like second round rookies who are like might be hurt. They have 95-year-old Randall Cobb, who is also hurt. Sammy Watkins, I believe, potentially also hurt.
He's just hurt all the time.
He's just always. but like my point being, like even what they have is like hurt. Like a lot of even with what they have, and you're a team with a lot of good defensive players in their prime. Aaron Rodgers coming off back-to-back MVP seasons, and even I don't know if he's looked really amazing from what I've seen, but like he also doesn't have much. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's I think wide receiver was such a big position they could have needed. Or for that matter, if the Lions are trading Hawkinson, pick up Hawkinson, run a 2 tight end set, unless that's just totally out of scheme for them. And
Tunion's the best pass catcher.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, he is, but then just run. I think that's one of the issues potentially with Hawkinson is that he might be more of like, I think he wants to be. No, I might be thinking Mike Gesicki, but I think Hawkinson, like you can potentially run him as a wide receiver. He's better than what you have. Run a 2 tight end set or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Agree.
But
also, before we jump to the next topic, did I catch that right? Calvin Ridley was traded during a suspension. Is that
during
right?
the suspension? Yes, and it is possible to be traded. I saw some reference, and it's a very complicated trade as in the compensation. It depends on when he's able to play. I believe depends on what pick like the Falcons get back. I don't fully understand.
What a weird.
It's whatever it was wacky, but yes, him to Calvin Ridley to the Jaguars. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That's just
weird.
There was not a shortage of trades today, and some of them were very odd. That one probably takes the cake.
That was a thinker.
We'll take the guy for next year. Wait, what? Okay.
Hey, you want to, Mike? the Jags are rebuilding, right? You have that Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley offense, okay? Which I say jokingly, but hey, that's actually two wide receivers better than the Giants, Patriots, Packers, like whew,
Bears.
honestly.
Well,
But
yeah, Bears, maybe.
Probably Bears. But anyway,
Okay.
what are we moving on to next? I was going to try to do the transition, but you have to.
Yeah, we're going to do the unlikely leaders. We're going to hit on 3 division leaders right now, sort of just our general takes. I have a couple of questions about them specifically. So this week we got the Vikings coming off their bye. They improved to 6-1 with a win over Arizona, 34-26, I believe. So the question is, with only one loss and in the NFC, are the Vikings Super Bowl contenders as they lead the NFC North?
I think Eagles are still definitely the favorite, but I think Vikings are number 2. I would call them Super Bowl contenders. I think with this trade is going all in. I mean, the one issue is that to go to the playoffs, that means they have to go to primetime games. And if they go to primetime games, that means Kirk Cousins is going to do very poorly. I was going to use some French there, but he's going to do very poorly during those primetime games. I'm half joking, half serious, but I mean, I think that Hawkinson trade is like they have the sack leader right now, tied for the sack leader in I think it's Zadarius Smith. They still have good defensive players. They have good offensive players. They've now traded for another pretty good tight end, right? They're mentally all. The fact they traded for the tight end means they're mentally all in as well, right? Which I think is important. So I mean, yeah, I think they're contenders. I think they're real. I think they very well get the second or third seed in the NFC, probably second unless they have a major collapse. I'm actually I say that, don't know what their schedule looks like, but
I'm gonna tentatively agree that they are contenders to make it to the Super
exactly
Bowl.
Yes, that's what I meant. Yeah, that's what
I am tentative about it because I don't know. I kind of like all the NFC East teams more than the Vikings. Honestly, I think I like the Giants more than the Vikings.
They play is that including the Commanders?
No,
they play next
week.
next week they play. Hey, Commanders are 4-4.
Commanders are 4-4. Hey. We just were saying how the Bucks are better than the Commanders, and now the Commanders are actually have a better record than them as well because Taylor Heineke is a boss.
He just wins games.
I don't know. I think I don't
true.
like San Francisco, and
but they don't get a second
better than Vikings.
But only one NFC team can get a top 4 seed. Of course, that means that then the Vikings in all likelihood might have to go on to play an NFC East team in the round 1 of the playoffs, just based on how playoff order works. But
right,
I mean, yeah, I still like them. I like the Vikings enough in that conference. I don't know, but
fair enough. Now we're gonna move to the AFC for the AFC South. We got the Tennessee Titans picking up where they left off last year, number 1 seed in the AFC last year, with a pretty rough playoff exit. But here they are, 5-2 behind Derrick Henry, running for over 200 yards for the 4th time in a row against the Houston Texans. Ridiculous stat that's been going around. He rushed for over 200 in his last four games.
Four of his six 200-yard games are against the Texans.
I mean, it's just the stats are absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, they are leading the AFC South pretty convincingly. I think that the Colts are 3-4-1, and they're in second place. Are the Titans legit? Are they a legit good team?
I don't think they're a legit good team. I think they're a legit playoff team. And I think that's either in the conference or even potentially, based on how the AFC is looking, based on the division they're in, potentially even a wild card if they needed to. I find that unlikely that would all play out like that. I find it unlikely that, say, the Colts would take the lead and then they have to be a wild card. I find it unlikely, but I think they even could do that. I think even something like that could work out just based on – I mean, actually, again, I'd have to look at the playoff picture. But they're 5-2. Sure. They already have 5 wins. Even if somehow the Colts have a renaissance with Ellinger and all that, even if they have a renaissance, the Titans have 5 wins. I think that's pretty good for the playoff race. I don't think they're good, though. I mean, I'd say better than average, right? Obviously, they're better than average to be 5-2 and all that, but I don't think they're like a contender or anything. I think they will most likely have another first round exits. Would be my prediction. What are your thoughts?
Titans are not legit. Titans are absolute fraud. Let me tell you who they've beaten. They are 5-2. They've beaten the Raiders, the Colts, the Commanders, the Colts, and the Titans. Okay, these are the teams that they beat. Who they lost to? They lost to the Giants, a good team, and they got absolutely destroyed by the Bills 41-7. Not even close. They're not even in the realm of a legit good team. They are going to get a playoff spot for sure, like you said, because they're in that AFC South division where you've got whatever's going on in Jacksonville. Houston
Whatever's
is still
going on
recovering.
in Houston.
Houston's still recovering from that whole thing, and then you've got the Colts who are just
Sam Ellinger Colts.
They're collecting QBs like playing cards, and so it's just it's just they are not legit. So that's my take on that. I'm gonna switch to the NFC South now. The worst division in football is being led by the Atlanta Falcons, and it was actually basically one PAT or field goal away from being led by the 3-4 Panthers. They would, if they won that game, they would have been 3-4, and they would have had the tiebreaker over Atlanta. And would have been. Yeah. And I could not believe that. And so, Atlanta somehow leading that division with the Bucs in it. Do you think that they're going to hold that lead? Or do you think another bad, mediocre NFC South team will make it to the playoffs this year?
I think the Falcons, even in some of their losses, have looked pretty close. Have looked pretty good. They've kept it somewhat competitive. They lost to the Saints by 1 point. They lost to the Rams by 4 points, and I think that was a comeback. They beat the Seahawks, right? A team I know we're both hot on. Beat the Seahawks by 4 points. They lost to the Bucs, and that was the week. If you remember, that was the week with the weird roughing the passer calls, a lot of controversy. That was a week where they would have had a chance to go do a 2-minute drill, couldn't because of a bad roughing the passer. Some of their losses have been close. When they lost to the Bengals the other week, that was not close. But generally, some of their losses, they've been playing the games relatively close. They have some talent on that team. They have some players, and in that division, I don't think the Saints or the Panthers the Panthers. It was very close. It was overtimes, the point after attempt, so on. But I don't think they're going to do it. Don't think the Saints are going to do it. The Bucs, if the Bucs put the puzzle pieces together, they could. But I think I'm going to bet on the Falcons kind of keeping this kind of mid-tier sort of gameplay that they have going on. I trust that they're going to keep that at least long enough to, wait out the Bucs maybe putting it together if they do it all, which I don't think they will. But yeah, I mean,
fair enough.
Yeah. I think they continue at this pace and sneak in with an 8-8 sort of record, that tier. I know it can't be that, but that tier.
Right, 8 or 9, 9 or 8. I agree. The winner of this division will be 8 or 9 or 9 or 8. I'm just not going to bet against. You're not going to bet on the Falcons.
Brady.
Oh, and I'm not going to bet on the Falcons. Like I said, Giselle might have left, but I'm not. I'm not ready to yet. I'm just not ready to bet against this man.
Is it
because I've been burnt too many times.
Sorry.
Yeah. So, but. All right, so before we get into our last segment about the sophomore quarterbacks, we usually do game picks. No game picks this week, but we have to do Eagles Watch. If you're new to 710 Sports with Jack and Jared, we just started Eagles Watch, which is basically a segment where we ask, will the Eagles lose this week? And then we both say yes or no. And if one of us says yes, then we'll talk about it. If we both say no, then we just move on. And so this week, the Eagles play, drumroll please, the Texans. The Eagles are 14-point favorites to the Texans. So we are once again asking, will the Eagles lose this week? Ready, Jack? 1, 2, 3. No.
All right, moving on. Sophomore
Yes.
QBs, the draft class 2021 QBs. Why don't you lead this off? I just wanted to transition away from the Eagles watch real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. We just want to talk about. It seems like at this point you got Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Davis Mills. These are all the quarterbacks drafted last year in the 2021 draft, and they were all, besides Davis Mills, they're all first-round picks. The only one not playing right now is Trey Lance because he's injured. The rest of them are all starting for their collective teams. And we just had some general questions about, who's the worst, who's the best, or I don't know, Jack. Do you have anything specific you want to talk about these sophomore year quarterbacks?
I mean, for one thing, at this point in this season, I don't think any of them looking all that good. I know we're going to talk about I know we're going to talk more on that. I don't think any of them are looking all that good. Right? I think Justin Fields the past couple of weeks has definitely been showing some signs, showing some signs of life against the Patriots. They did very well, winning the game as well against the Cowboys, even though they lost a lot. That wasn't the Bears' offense letting them down. The Bears scored more points. Like they've scored the most points against the Giant Cowboys defense of any team so far. More than the Bucks, more than the Giants, more than the Bengals, so on. So like the past 2 weeks, he's been looking very good. Mac Jones has not been looking super great. He's looked. I don't know. That's a conversation we've had a lot before. We'll have it again. But like average, right? Average to bad. Trevor Lawrence, there was like 1 or 2 games earlier in the season, but again, not looking very good. Zach Wilson looked terrible against the Patriots. You put almost any other quarterback on that Jets team, they probably win against the Patriots. You put Mac Jones onto that Jets team, they probably win against the Patriots. Trey Lance is not playing because the 49ers gave up 3 first-round picks for him. Not because, but just an unfortunate side note. There is still time for him to play, but I know we've talked about this. It sucks for his development because he was the sort of guy they drafted off of raw talent, of like raw potential, and who needs games. He needs snaps, and you don't play him the first season. Second season, he gets hurt week 2. I think it was week 2. Suboptimal. That's looking like a poor development arc. Who's left? Davis Mills. Well, the Texans have been absolutely terrible, so I'm going to assume he hasn't played super well, but I have not watched the games or anything, so can't speak to that.
It's really shocking how we haven't so far this season seen a sophomore step really at all from these QBs, and I think we're seeing, if I had to take a couple of these guys, I don't think at this point I'm comfortable saying any of these would be my franchise guy, but I do think that Justin Fields and Mac Jones have looked better in their entire time. Justin Fields looked really, really bad last year, but I think he might be looking the best so far this year. Mac Jones looked the best last year, and now he seems to be. And I think
taking a step back. Yeah,
he's taking a step back because I think they're finally letting him kind of open up the offense a lot more, and so he's making a lot more of his first year mistakes in his second year.
Exactly. Yeah, he's now he's being allowed to actually make decisions and stuff. They're relying on him more. That's one thing last season. I haven't really talked about our thoughts from last season. One thing I feel like I had said to you, because we were watching some of those games together, where there are times where they should not try to kick this 62-yard field goal against the Bucks. They should try to at least get this it's like third down. You've got a timeout. Try to get better field, like so on and so forth. And there are other games too where they just did not give him chances to make mistakes a lot of times. So I think that's an interesting point, that some of those first year mistakes he was kind of protected from. He was kind of shielded like a baby, and then
and
now
you're
seeing
it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me, like you said, the Trey Lance pick never made a ton of sense. Them trading up to get him when they probably could have gotten him later, but there was some complicating things going on there. Zach Wilson has looked really bad pretty much, period. Trevor Lawrence, they've basically said, Trevor Lawrence, you do it all. We're going to put it all on your back, and we're also going to give you a coach that is going to kick players while they're stretching. And so you say to yourself, they're going to give Trevor Lawrence a pass, but we're also like, he also had those opportunities to make mistakes and learn from them. And you're seeing him in London against the Broncos just throw some terrible picks, essentially icing the game for
that game against the Eagles where he fumbled like 4 or 5 times. Like looking like vintage Danny Dimes out there. I know it was on the NFL Reddit, so I had to really kind of look into it. But they had this meme that was like Trevor Lawrence and his like first year and a half stats, and then Gardner Minshew and his first year and a half stats, and a lot of the stats were pretty identical, and some of them Gardner Minshew had like a higher passer rating. And he had a way better TD to int ratio. Like Trevor Lawrence is like close to 1-to-1, and Gardner Minshew was over 2-to-1, close to 3-to-1. And they played the same amount of games at this point in Trevor Lawrence's career. Gardner Minshew was a 6th round pick, and they moved off of him when he played pretty darn good. And this is what I hate, because you look at all these sophomore year QBs. They are going to play out. Most likely, they are going to play out most of their rookie contracts between all of them. Maybe not Davis Mills, maybe not Trey Lance, depending on how the injury works out. But Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and they could be bad. They could be really bad now. Whether it's them, whether it's Zach Wilson's on the Jets, okay, whatever. But they're going to play out their contracts. They're going to get at least 4 years, and then. Even if they're bad, someone's going to trade for him. Someone's going to say, you know what, Zach Wilson, he was bad because he was on the Jets. Give him a chance.
He's a first-round pick.
It's like Drew Brees. Trade him to the Saints.
Exactly, just like Drew Brees. Boom. But you look at this, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold showed you really nothing with the New York Jets, and then went and showed you absolutely nothing with the Panthers. Hey. Carson Wentz is the exact same thing.
He had an almost MVP season. But at the same time, then Nick Foles comes in, carries him through the playoffs, wins a Super Bowl MVP, right? I think he did.
Right.
Like in the same team, which slightly discredits. I mean, I think it's also credit to Nick Foles because he like played right. Like it's not like he was looking like a chump. It's not like he was looking like Peyton Manning on that Broncos team. It's not like that. But at the same time, it's that team was obviously a Super Bowl caliber team. If you can put in the backup and win the Super Bowl, right? How many teams can you say that about?
You just wonder, the Jags, they felt like they needed to move off Minshew because they had Trevor Lawrence coming in the door. But now Minshew is sitting as the Eagles' backup QB. Think about how stacked the Eagles are.
Dude, the Eagles value backup quarterbacks, and for good reason. Right, it was good reason before when they did it and it worked, and now you definitely don't trade Gardner Minshew if you're the Eagles. As long as he he'll play, as long as he's not going to sit out. Which why would he?
I just think it's crazy because Minshew, if Minshew was a first round pick, they would have never went after Trevor Lawrence.
True. They would have traded back. They would have gotten a ton of first round picks for it. Right, because Trevor Lawrence was the second coming, of Christ.
Yes.
Right. Like you could have and in that draft in that year, you could have gotten like 5 first round picks from the 49ers.
Right.
Ooh.
Anyone would have wanted to move up.
Like so many teams pick quarterbacks,
the third, the fourth, whatever. Yeah. And so it just, to me, it's crazy because Gardner Minshew's a 6th round pick and now he's a backup. Geno Smith. He's basically a career backup, and now he comes in, and there is no denying that he is playing like he's one of the best QBs in the league.
Yeah.
Period. You want to look at statistically, you want to look at just watching the games, you want to look at the record. They're leading their division, and he's dropping dimes on the field, and he statistically is top 3 in the league.
Yeah, and watching that game, the Seahawks Giants game, he was throwing dimes that were then getting dropped too. Like he's statistically looking so great.
Yeah.
And like that game, there were like there was like a drop touchdown pass. Like there were multiple drop passes. There was Lockett dropped a big one. There was a DK Metcalf pass where it, wouldn't have been an easy catch, but was 100% a catchable ball. And I remember, and that was gonna be I remember it because it was like a 25-yard pass or something. Like he was throwing bullets there, and even the bullets were it would someone's like just stat sheet wise. It's not like
his stats
it's
could
not,
be better.
His stats could be even better. That's what I mean. It's not like I'm not trying to talk poorly about the Seahawks receiving core or anything. I mean it in the sense of Geno Smith's stats could be even better than they are, and it's already looking so good. So yeah,
right. It's just it really is. It's funny because
it's interesting.
Just we're gonna see this. Maybe we're gonna spend probably a lot of time talking about this for years because they're not, the Jags are not gonna move off of Trevor Lawrence. Like he could play bad for the next two more years. They're not gonna move off of him. He's supposed to be generationally talented. That's the problem. He's supposed to be generationally talented, but what if he isn't? And I'm not saying he isn't. I'm just saying I've seen it right now, and it doesn't look too hot. So I don't know. That's just me. We knew when I'm not a big Justin Herbert guy, but we knew when we saw Justin Herbert play.
You look at him play, even when they're not making the playoffs, even when this, that, and the other thing, you can still look good and say, and know he's good.
So I don't know, but that's my gripe. But I think that's about it for episode 16.
Yeah, because we're not doing a stats question, so I did not prepare a stat. If you have a fun stat you want to share or anything,
no stats question today, unfortunately. So we're just going to keep it, 3.5 to 2.5 right now. We're tied. But
I think
because
there might be one fun. Sorry, keep talking. There might be one fun stat I can share.
Basically, we're a little bit of a shorter episode than usual, but that's because we are going to be sending out another episode, the Jack P's Pin Setter. So basically, if you like rankings, we do them once a month here. We think that's a more accurate way of getting a feel for the league. So they're going to look a lot different from the Week 4 rankings that Jack put together. But that's all right, because we're not trying to do rankings every week here. We don't do a daily podcast, so no need for weekly rankings. But if you're into something like that, we're gonna have an audio version of it, but we're also gonna be doing some video graphic stuff with it.
Yes.
So definitely check out the YouTube if you're into that. Jack, you got anything else before we close this down?
No, I was gonna try to find some stat, but there's some funny stat out there about Trevor Lawrence as a like his record as a number 1 overall pick is like one of the worst records of number 1 overall pick in some time, or something like that. I mean, maybe part of that's like I don't know if Johnny Football got had more than a season or not and stuff like that. So like that, it may not be a good stat, but.
No, but even think about Baker. Baker jumped onto the Browns team.
The 1-31 Browns.
Yes, exactly. They won one game over 2 seasons, and I think that he got them to 3 or 4 wins that first season, right?
Yeah. I think his career with the Browns, they were 500. So obviously not good, but not 5 to 20 or whatever they are. But don't have anything else.
And he's a bust too. He's a bust too because he can't even keep his second job with the Panthers. So, but he basically is playing out his full rookie contract.
Dude,
so
one interesting thing, actual last thing I'll say, Seahawks draft capital wise, because I looked at this, they have the 3rd most draft capital. They have the 10th pick and the 22nd pick. And then they kind of similarly have the 41st and 56th pick, in the second round. They have a lot of draft capital for a team that is like a playoff team, right? For a team that's looking so good. Texans have the most. They have the 2nd and 9th picks, and so on. And
that's what happens when you say to yourself, "Hey, this guy's supposed to be good. We know he's not, but everybody else thinks he is.
Everyone else thinks he is. Let's trade him for a ton of picks and good players."
Right, and so everyone will look at you
good
crazy.
Bench players.
But then now you have a better team because you're starting a better QB named Geno, and you have more picks. It's made out like bandits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was the 16th episode of 710 Sports with
Jack
and Jared. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you tune in for the Jack P's Pin Setters. Other than that, have a good one. See you then.